Mr. Naidoo, thank you so much for making time. The president breaking with tradition and inviting South Africans to choose the Chief Justice. This is a first for South Africa.
Good afternoon, Clement. Thank you. Indeed, it is a first. It is groundbreaking. Although, we must note that when other judges are appointed, it follows a similar process of a public call for nominations. But this, as you point out, is the first time that it's been done in respect of the filling of the vacancy of the position of Chief Justice. In terms of the Constitution, the President has the power and the authority to appoint the Chief Justice, and he does so as the head of the National Executive, so he does so as the head of government rather than as the head of state. And in doing so, he must consult with both the Judicial Service Commission as well as the leaders of political parties represented in the National Assembly. He, of course, doesn't have to take their advice or counsel in the matter, but he must run his preferred candidate past them at the very least before he makes such a decision. But this new openness and transparency is certainly to be welcomed.
Yeah, he doesn't have much time, Mr. Naidoo, and I spoke to you yesterday about this. This process seems like it's going to take some time, and the Chief Justice, I think his last day is on the 11th of October. The nomination has to happen. People have to object if they wish so to some of the names that are nominated. That the panel has to nominate the list. Then the president has to consult with the Judicial Service Commission and political parties. This is a process that should have started 3 or 4 months ago.
Indeed, it should, Clement. It's really unfortunate that it's been delayed for as long as it has. The president has made it known some time ago that this is the kind of process that he wanted to follow. It's very similar to the process that was followed for the appointment of the National Director of Public Prosecution. And, he was fully aware of how long this process would take. But I don't think we should become overly fixated on the fact that Chief Justice Mogoeng leaves office on the 11th of October. It's not necessary that the position be filled immediately. Of course, it is desirable that should be so. But I think it's more important to get the process right and to ensure that it's an open, rigorous process that produces the best candidate for the position. So if the acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has to remain in office in an acting capacity for an extra couple of months, it's not the end of the world. I think getting the process right and getting full public participation in that process is far more important.
You've got some people already criticizing this move and saying, here we go, the president again abdicating his responsibility. He's running away from taking decisions that every time perhaps there's criticism of that decision he can own. What do you make of that?
Well, as I say, I think the principles of openness and transparency and ensuring a competitive process far outweigh any criticisms that could be leveled. There's same people that are criticizing the president for not being decisive may well be critical of the president if he makes a decision and it's not the candidate that they particularly prefer. So I think the integrity of the process is critically important in this regard. And if we get the process right, more often than not, the outcome will also prove to be the correct one.
Yeah. What about the integrity of the people on this list? What do you make of some of the people included here? You've got the former public protector, Advocate Thuli Madonsela, the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola. You've got the former Minister of Justice, Jeff Radebe, also included here, together with the former judge of the International Court of Justice, that's Navi Pillay. You've got the co-chair of the South African National AIDS Council, Ms. Mapaseka Steve Litsike. There's Professor of Law at Harvard University, Professor Ziad Motala. You think this is the list that will give credibility to whatever suggestions and recommendations they will make to the president?
Well, I think it's, the breadth of the panel is refreshing, that it encompasses the broad range of people that you mentioned. One is pleased that there is a former judge on that panel. Yeah. It would have been, in my opinion, perhaps beneficial to have someone, in addition to Judge Navi Pillay, someone who had previously served on the Constitutional Court. We have many retired justices from the Constitutional Court, because they would have a real understanding of what the role entails in terms of managing the Constitutional Court, in terms of the responsibility that the Chief Justice has in presiding over meetings of the Judicial Service Commission. But the breadth of people there, and the fact that it includes someone from civil society, is certainly to be welcomed.
All right, Mr. Lawson Naidoo, thank you so much for making time. That's the KSAC Executive Secretary.